Hi, my name's David Wortley. I'm the CEO and founder of 360 Immersive Experiences, and I'm talking to you from the UK. I'm really sorry that I'm not able to be there with you in person, but I hope that you'll find that this recorded presentation eye-opening and stimulating. I'm going to be talking about the opportunities and challenges of 360-degree imaging technologies and immersive education. Let's get right on with the presentation. My main objective is to make this presentation as entertaining, memorable and eye-opening as possible. But I also want to stimulate your imagination and motivate you to want to shape the future. So I'm going to be not only talking about some of the great opportunities that the developments in graphics technologies are going to bring about over the coming years, but also some of the serious challenges that they're going to pose to society in general. And I want to motivate you to get involved in trying to shape the future of graphics technology developments for the benefit of humanity. And to do this, I want to try and make my presentation as impactful as possible. And so I'm going to take an idea from one of my favorite authors, Charles Dickens, with his book Christmas Carol. And for those of you who remember it, Christmas Carol is about a character called Scrooge, who on Christmas Eve is visited by the ghost of Jacob Marley, who appears as a ghost in chains, and he tries to warn Scrooge about his behavior and to try and change him. So he arranges for Scrooge to be visited by three ghosts, the ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future. So today I want you to imagine, as I'm not there in person, that you're going to be visited by the ghost of Wortley. And the ghost of Wortley is going to take you on a journey through the past, present, and future of computer graphics. So this ghost will summon the ghosts of computer graphics, past, present, and future. And it's also about a tale of two children born in different generations. The first of these children, which is myself, was born in 1949, and the picture that you see on the screen there was taken around about 1950. So this is about the impact of technologies on my life and what we can learn about those technologies and how they will affect future generations. Well, at the time that I was born, computer graphics didn't exist. In fact, there were very few computers as we know them today in existence. They were still very, very embryonic. And so the technologies that really influenced my learning and development as I grew up were based around transport technologies, which took me to new places and experiences that I learned from. Telecommunications technologies that allowed me to connect to the outside world, and the Google of my day, which was the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I really got involved in computer graphics quite early in the life of what we now understand today as computer graphics, when I started my own small consultancy business. I'd been working for IBM for 5 years. I joined them in 1979 and left in 1984 to set up my business. And my business was designed to be a consultancy advising companies on how to use technology for competitive advantage. And because I was a small startup, I wanted to try to use technology as well as possible to present a good image of myself. And so at the time, the computer graphics available were really based on the IBM PC. And indeed, when I started my business in 1984, the IBM PC had just been launched in the UK, but it was only available in monochrome. And it wasn't until the next year, 1985, that we had color graphics. And those color graphics were providing 4 colors on the screen, with a resolution of 320 pixels by 200. But this level of technology, IBM CGA technology, in terms of price performance, was quite an advance from the other graphics workstations of the time. And I highlighted the Quantel Paintbox, which was launched in 1981, and I believe that Paintbox still exists within the television industry. So because I wanted to make a good impression to my customers, I felt it worthwhile, as soon as the technology was available, to invest in computer graphics to make my own presentation slides. So I used a program called Execuvision, my company called VCN, that allowed you to create graphics. It had color clip art, and its restriction was a maximum of 4 colors at any one time on the screen, and a resolution of 320 by 200. So by today's standards, it was pathetic, but in those days it was sufficiently exciting enough to impress some of the large corporates that I wanted to do business. So if we move on a decade, by 1990 we had color graphics, and we moved on to VGA resolutions, and I was probably a pioneer of graphics for capturing photographic images. And so I invested in the Canon Iron camera, which was the forerunner of digital cameras. It wasn't a digital camera, it was actually analog. It stored photographs and videos on a little micro disc about that sort of size. And I showed on the screen there a black and white laser print, which I took around probably 1992. It's a picture of myself in a smart jumper with my granddaughter, who was just a baby at the time, just to give you an indication of the quality and the kind of things that I was doing around 1992. Moving on a decade, in 2002, I was working with Interactive Multimedia Graphics. My company was the first company in the UK to be appointed as a Microsoft PowerPoint presentation center, and I became involved in communications technologies such as video conferencing, and I put all of these things together, and I ran an event in 2002 called the Radio with Pictures Show, where I combined all of these technologies: radio, web conferencing, teleconferencing, presentation graphics, to have a worldwide global seminar showing PowerPoint slides. The audience, whatever they were in the world, could join in and either just listen, or they could access the PowerPoint slides and listen to the presentation. And I had presenters from all over the world. So the technology which enabled this were not just graphics technologies, although they were really quite important in creating the visualizing information that I wanted to share with the audience, but it was also the communication technologies available at the time that made that possible. And moving on to 2007, I was the founding director of the Serious Games Institute, and we launched the Serious Games Institute in 2007. And for our launch event, we had a hybrid conference. So we had a physical conference which was held in the conference centre at Coventry University, and simultaneously we ran the conference with streamed audio and video into Second Life. So by 2007 the technologies had evolved enough to have multiplayer virtual environments where individuals from anywhere in the world could interact with each other or simply participate as a member of the audience. Moving on to the current period from 2010 to 2018, in 2011 the games industry was really a major driver for computer graphics. Certainly console games were probably still dominant around that time. And again, these technologies were really primarily for the content needed to be created by professionals using quite high-end equipment. But as the years have progressed and we get to 2016, we start to see 360-degree cameras coming onto the market, and I bought my Ricoh Theta S 360-degree camera in 2016, and so I've been really focusing a great deal on the use and applications of 360-degree imaging, both still imaging and video. And today we have new devices available like the Oculus Go VR headset, which I believe is potentially quite a game changer. It's a standalone virtual reality headset that not only provides you with a really rich immersive experience, but it also has a lot of tools that are going to develop in the future for being able to share those experiences with other people from anywhere in the world. So times have changed a lot since I first got involved with computer graphics. So let's look at some of the things that you can do now and reflect on the timeline and the changes that have taken place in that time period. So we began in 1985 with the IBM PC and CGA, which provided a solitary visual experience. There was no sound with it, very little in the way of animation, and colors were very, very limited, as well as resolution. But within 20 years we got to the stage where we have multiplayer virtual environments where people communicate with each other. They could create their own graphical worlds to share with other people. So the 20 years have seen really quite a tremendous advance. But going from 2005 to the present day, there's been even greater advances as we've moved from Second Life, which is synthetic virtual environments, into the visualization of real capture and visualization of real world environments through 360-degree camera technologies. So looking at the ghosts of the past and the present from 1985 to the present day, what can we learn from these ghosts? Well, one of the most important things to highlight is the fact that it's not a single technology which has been responsible for these changes. There are a combination of disruptive digital technologies which are responsible for these changes. So the technologies that we've seen developed in computer processors, graphics processors, solid state memory, which makes files much more quickly accessible, nanotechnologies which enable manufacturers to pack very powerful processors in small devices, display technology, obviously but also communications technologies. These graphics technologies would not be as successful commercially without the ability to communicate at high speed, to be able to manage the kind of file sizes that are being created with 360-degree technologies. So fiber broadband, cloud computing, but also one of the most important influences, most disruptive influences, artificial intelligence. Which is being embedded into all kinds of graphics devices and making a big difference not only to the power of what you can do, but also to make it accessible to the largest possible audience. And then finally, social media, which is important in its own right for being able to disseminate all of these technologies to a global audience. So we live in a world now where we're no longer simply consumers of media. We are also producers increasingly. And I describe this as a kind of perfect storm of the bringing together and the consumerization of computer graphics technologies with a whole range of other technologies that makes both the creation and consumption of immersive experiences affordable, accessible, 24/7. So now we're moving on to look at the opportunities and challenges that are created by these developments in graphics technologies and this perfect storm of other technologies. And these converging and emerging technologies are fueling the prosumer generation, and it's making it possible for ordinary people to capture, edit, share, archive, and communicate immersive experiences. And these kind of immersive experiences have a lot of potential to change our world. So when we look at immersive education, the generation that is now coming towards school age have very different expectations to my generation, because they're already born into a world where these technologies exist and empower them to not only consume digital media but also to create it. So looking at some of the opportunities these technologies will bring, I've given a few examples. The first of these is celebrating heritage. And the example that I've shown on the screen there is a 360-degree recording of a talk that I gave at a local village hall where characters dressed up in costume. The village hall itself had a very big part to play in local history, as evidenced by some of the pictures around the wall. So I'm going to load and show an extract from that video so that you can get an idea of the potential of 360-degree technologies to share local heritage.
Vous avez dit Grafton, madame. Ce n'est pas Grafton. C'est Grestein. Grestein. J'explique. I explain you in French or English? English.
Can you remember the people behind you as well?
Oh, I remember you people behind me. Step back for the people behind me.
The second example that I'm going to show is of bringing experiences that I had in my youth that are really very rarely accessible to the majority of the presentation of the community, and this is about learning about the past with steam train technology. So this is a recording of the sound of a steam train. So that's steam train sound recording, and I can now play you the video that is associated with it. And the fact that you can move the video around and change the perspective shows you how that immersive experience. Another example now from the past, which is not available today. You can see and hear about this at the Milton Keynes Museum in the UK, where they have old telecommunications technology set up. So you can make a telephone call from an old rotary dial telephone, and you can hear the mechanical switches in operation as they route your call. The immersive technology we have today can also be used for virtual tours. And I've included a couple of examples here. The first of these is a virtual tour created which shows you different places around the world. So when I travel abroad, I take my 360-degree cameras with me, and sometimes I live stream, but most of the time I take 360-degree still images. And so I put together this little virtual tour, and I'll show you an extract of it. The same software that I use to create that World Virtual Tour, I also use to create a virtual heritage tour of a local museum. And again, I'm going to show you a little extract from that virtual tour to show you how you can combine interactive 360-degree technology with spatial audio to create a rich interactive experience. I'm also involved in drones, and my latest drone is a Mavic Air, which has a 360-degree panoramic mode. So although the camera that's mounted inside the drone is not a 360 camera, it's just an ordinary, quite good quality, tiny camera. It has the ability, through the use of artificial intelligence, to be able to create a panoramic image by rotating the drone round into 16 different positions to be able to stitch that together and make a single panoramic image. So this is really quite remarkable when you think about it, because it's not only quite a task to maintain a drone stable and a camera stable to be able to take all of those pictures, but those pictures are stitched within the camera itself. So all you have to do is to copy the file that's saved on the drone onto your PC, and you've already got a good quality 360-degree image. And on this page I compare a 360-degree photograph taken with a Mavic Air using this panoramic stitching with a photograph that I took with a 3DR solo drone with a 360-degree camera suspended underneath the drone. And you can see that although there is only a year between when I first took the 3DR solo drone and took pictures with that to today when I take the picture with the Mavic Air, the resolution of the image, even though it's not done with a 360-degree camera, is far greater on the Mavic Air. So looking at the opportunities, one of the fears that I have about all these developments in technology is the impact of artificial intelligence. Now, there's no doubt that I would not be able to do the things with my drones, my 360-degree cameras that I do without the use of artificial intelligence embedded into those cameras. because they take away some of the expertise that I would have needed, or some of the services that I would have needed from other people to be able to create this immersive experience content. So the point that I'm trying to make is that when you look at immersive education, you need to mix human skills with the technology to be able to get the best from these technologies in terms of education. And one of the examples that I use to illustrate how 360-degree technologies can support immersive education is in the area of debriefing and reflection. So I'm going to show you an extract of a video now, which was a recording of a networking game. It's called the Marshmallow Game, in which teams sat round tables, competed with each other to build the highest freestanding structure made out of sticks of dried spaghetti and marshmallow and some masking tape. Now, the team on my table actually won the competition and built a structure which was about 6 foot tall. But before we played this game, I asked if it would be okay to record it in 360 degrees. And it wasn't until I played the recording back and looked at the individuals around the table that I realized the potential of 360-degree video for debriefing. So I'm showing this little extract from the 360 recording of this Marshmallow Game. The video was speeded up so that you could focus on individuals and see how their expressions and their engagement changed over the period of the game. It's only a short extract, but I'm going to focus on the young lady to my right in this game, so you can see how her expression changes. And it was a really eye-opening experience, not only in terms of how effective the game was in engaging people, but also it was highly effective in terms of learning about my own behaviors.
One thing I would suggest is that if it's going to be freestanding, it's got to be stable. So having a tripod as a base would be quite a good way of getting it to be stable, and then you can build up on top of that.
So if you had three, you'd have the three and the marshmallow on the top to hold them, wouldn't you?
Yes, you could.
But
you
then
could
that's not
yeah.
going to be high. And if you start making it too high, it's going to be unstable, isn't it?
Yes.
So that's the idea.
So you need. I think you need quite a solid tripod or a base to be able to build it on.
opportunities, these technologies are going to present some challenges. And the biggest challenge, as I mentioned, with artificial intelligence, being able to empower individuals to do things that would have been impossible just a few years ago without a lot of specialist expertise, many of these skills will be replaced by artificial intelligence. So the question is, are we preparing students for jobs that will not exist in the future? So looking at one of those issues today, I believe that we will have quite a serious problem with graduate unemployment. It's been accepted for many, many years, and our education system is built up around this, that having a university course is a guarantee of a good job at the end. Well, this is not the case today, and so you find that many graduates have to seek jobs which have nothing to do with the courses that they've been taken, and probably not what they were expecting when they went to university. So in the future, should we, instead of focusing on the kind of disciplines and specialist subjects that we do today, should we more focus on the skills that we have as human beings that will not be replaced by machines? And should we focus on good citizenship? And kind of this is illustrated by what I described as the maker education mindset. So is it a case for really giving our students challenges which really bring them back to the basics of creating something from scratch? In my day it would have been Meccano. Today it would be things like building little robots, building drones, creating things, the maker education set. So if we look at the ghosts of education yet to come and computer graphics yet to come, if we look at the timeline from 2018 to 20 years, a 20-year horizon, 2038, what are we likely to see? Well, my big worry and fear is that the singularity, which is this combination of human beings and technologies designed to make human beings more powerful and give them longer lives, this merging of humans and technologies will come to pass, and many of the unimaginable capabilities of technology which will be used to make human beings more cyber related. I think they are quite likely to come to pass, and the only people that can prevent that from happening are the citizens of today and of the future. So looking at the conclusions, well, computer graphics technologies are not, you can't see them in isolation. You have to see them as part of a perfect storm of interdependent technologies. And this perfect storm is fueling the prosumer phenomenon and the democratization of technology. It's making jobs and skills that previously would have taken years to acquire, it's making them accessible to the man in the street. And because of the capabilities of these technologies, very rich, interactive, multimedia, immersive experiences, these are likely to continue to drive the attention economy. In other words, the future will be really determined by the size of the audience that you can attract and how much you can influence people. And I believe that we need to use technologies like artificial intelligence very carefully to harness our human potential and not to destroy what makes us human. I've written a book called Gadgets to God, which traces mankind's change in relationship with technology during my lifetime. And in essence, I can summarize it to say that when I was born in 1949, it was human intelligence that was used to control and harness the power of machines and technology. But today we've already reached the point in 2018 that it's actually computer intelligence and computer experience which is harnessing and controlling human beings. And that's a very dangerous situation. So when you go away from this conference in Montreal, I want you to think of the Ghost of Wortley and think about how we can collectively shape the future of technology so that we don't really let technology become the chains that bind future generations.
Thank you very much for joining me for this session and sitting all the way through it. I think it probably was hard for you to sit through 45 minutes of listening to a presentation from somebody who's not there, as it was for me to put this presentation together. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the conference, and I hope that you'll remember your visit from the Ghost of Wortley. Thank you.